Welcome to Start Before You're Ready, the podcast that proves that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment to begin your journey towards better health and happiness. I'm your host, Kelly Young. Remember, the first step is often the hardest, but it's always worth taking. Hey guys, it's Kelly, and I am back with a very special episode of Start Before You're Ready. Fun fact, Debbie Weigand was my first podcast guest, but I wasn't really sure what I was doing. So I kind of held it on reserve, and now I want to just redo it because Debbie is the kind of person that is getting better every single day. So a lot has happened since that first recording back in October. So I am here with Debbie, and first of all, I want to thank her very much for her patience with me today. I was running a little bit behind, but it's a good hair day, so there's that. And I knew if anyone would appreciate a good hair day, it would be my dear friend DW. So let me introduce Debbie to you guys. Debbie is what we call a KBC original. She started when I was back Writings at Blue Springs Clubhouse. Her dear friend Cindy Como, who's no longer with us, who we'll talk a little bit about today, is the one that encouraged Debbie to try this boot camp. And back then, let's just say Debbie wasn't really a boot camper. So this was really outside of her comfort zone. Debbie didn't think it was something that she would be able to do or that she would want to do or that she would enjoy. But as we will share in today's discussion, none of those things are true. Debbie is a star student. She's getting better every single day. She's overcome incredible obstacles and adversity, and she stays strong. And what I really love about Debbie, and I want to make sure to highlight today, is how much she cares for, cheers for, roots for, wants to help other people. She has transformed her own life through becoming a physically and mentally stronger person. And now she wants to help other people do that. And she does it every single day in our community. So Debbie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and just a little snippet of your journey with KBC so far.
Thank you, Kelly. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. I appreciate you so much. My name is Debbie Weigand, and it is my pleasure to be here today to tell you a little bit about me. I feel
her favorite subject.
It is my favorite subject, for sure. Let's talk about me. I was a busy mom of 3. I was 39 years old, way back in the spring of 2009, living here in South Riding, Virginia. And one of my dear friends, who Kelly referenced in my introduction, Cindy Como, was excited to invite me to attend an outdoor boot camp she had found just in the neighborhood. And she approached me out in the alley where we hung out with our children. And she said, wine. Debbie, I was drinking wine and eating chips and salsa, for sure. Cindy said, why don't you think about doing this? And at the time, I had a pretty difficult doctor's appointment. My weight had gone in excess of 220 pounds. I was not focused on me. I was focused on my husband and my family and my children and my job. And I was last on the list. And the doctor assured me that if I didn't make some change to my physical health, that I was going to be needing to think about medication and definitely a more rigorous, certainly spending more time with the doctor trying to figure out where my health was headed. So the time was right for me to take this leap. I was certainly not ready. As Kelly said in my opening introduction, I was not an athlete ever. I was a musician. I was fearful, but knew that I needed to make this big change. And part of joining Kelly's boot camp meant that I needed to meet with Kelly. So I reached out to her and she invited me to her home, and we spent some time together in her basement at a high top table talking about all of the things that were going on in my life and what my goals were, what my why would be, what my vision for myself would be. And we had a really nice conversation. And then she asked me to do some push-ups, some sit-ups, some squats, and some lunges. And I remember that I struggled through all of it. And I remember too that Kelly was encouraging and supportive. And even though I knew she meant business, she was not a warm and
fuzzy, Debbie, which I'm so offended by. I'm super warm and fuzzy.
She was not warm and fuzzy. She was tough. She was tough. She said, I'm going to help you, but you have to commit to this. She said, I don't want somebody that says, oh, I'm thinking about it. She wanted me to say that day that I was there, and I meant it, and I was going to show up. And I liked that. That meant something to me.
Expectations. People like expectations.
They really do. And I'm no different. The expectation that I would show up meant that she was going to be there too. And so one of the things that I love most about Kelly, and I think that certainly pulled me towards her, was that she showed up on that lot, regardless of weather and, whether it was raining or snowing or 100-degree heat, Kelly was there. Those were the things that attracted me to Kelly, and certainly to Kelly's boot camp. And this is year 16 for me. Mm-hmm. I am proud to say that I've spent some part of every day with Kelly over the last 16 years.
For sure.
I never missed a workout, or not often.
For sure.
And I feel really fortunate to be sitting here today, having evolved with the program, with you, and with the many ways that you've changed over the years. I know that I've changed too. So I'm happy to be here talking about all of the things, and this place that means so much to me. And that day in your basement was a pivotal point in my life. It changed my life, actually.
Yeah.
And I am different today because of that conversation, and because of the many ways that KBC has evolved over the years, and I have evolved too. So, yeah.
Well, I'll say a few things about that, Debbie. First of all, I have that conversation with a lot of people that I care about. If I give that kind of tough love, it's because I'm immediately connected, and I want to make a difference. And I know that there's two directions people can go, right? And you from the get-go did what you said you were going to do. And that is something I really value in my students. And I try to make that point from the beginning of just, you're making a promise to yourself, and this is serious. But a lot of people aren't able to follow through the way that you did, but it's something within you got you there. And let's go back to Cindy Como for getting you to come and do that assessment, and telling you that she thought that it was something that you could do, even though you really doubted her because she was a runner and she was athletic and you at the time were not. And you were really questioning, Cindy, I don't think I could do a boot camp. Let's be real. You could not do a push-up. You could not, you kind of thought you could, which was interesting. I was like, no, we're not going to count that.
I remember.
It's crazy how you can remember things. But those are really honestly, when I say this, I truly mean it. If someone has 0 for a push-up or a sit-up, I'm like, awesome. If I can get this person to start working out, this is going to be miraculous. This is going to be life-changing. And obviously, in your case, it was. And I want to go back to where you were as a mom, because you said a lot of things that I thought were really significant and interesting. You're a little bit older than me, not much, but when I first started my boot camp, everybody said, I'm turning 40 this year. That was part of and I was like, oh my God, what happens when you turn 40? Because I was 35 or 36 or whatever. And I was really, really scared. I'm like, why does everyone all of a sudden care about their health? But here's the deal. You've had your children, or maybe you're still having children, but you've put yourself, just like Debbie, you've put yourself on the back burner because everything else is more important. And then at one moment you realize, hey, look, if I don't take care of myself, these guys are going to be taking care of me sooner rather than later. So you made a really incredible decision for your family. So I do want to highlight that, Debbie, because a lot of moms, especially, and it doesn't matter if you're a mom of college age or toddlers, a lot of moms feel like they need to put everybody else first. And what I have seen time and time again with myself, with my instructors, and with my students is that if you prioritize your own health and happiness, you are better equipped to do everything that you do in life. And being a mother is number one. And your children are watching you and they're paying attention to what you do far more than what you say. So your kids seeing you go to boot camp every Saturday morning and start to change your eating habits and the things that you did. And we could talk another whole conversation about the incredible transformation your husband has had. It's taken at least 10 years off of his life. No, put 10 years on his life.
I knew what you meant.
Age backwards 10 years. I don't want to get that wrong. So yeah, I really like that. And let's try to, I could jump all over the place, but let's try to be a little sequential here. When you first started out, how did the workouts feel?
It was not easy.
No.
And being out there with other folks who were certainly considered athletes, some of them, many of them, certainly you, was intimidating for me. And it was hard and certainly took effort. And I feel having Cindy Como, who was someone who was my accountability partner, counted on me to be there. She would pick me up. We would go together. We would partner together. We would get in trouble together. And she was the difference maker.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, she was a runner. She was athletic. She was a swimmer. And I was none of those things.
Yeah.
And so, just having her as a role model, as a guide, as somebody who wanted me to be there, and certainly you being there. And
yeah. Do you think that's why you want to help? Is that part? I never really kind of put this together, but do you think that's part of why you feel so called to help other new people when they come into our community, or other people that you feel like they might need a handheld?
Yeah. I mean, I think part of who I am and part of how I've evolved in this program over time was, making people feel welcome. And I remember those first days when I didn't know what I was doing, when I didn't do a squat well, when I didn't know how to do a push-up, when I didn't know where the weights were or the bands were, or what even those things were.
Yeah.
So, and now the program has evolved. You have your indoor studio, you have your outdoor space. We sometimes meet at different places. So I want your program to be successful.
Yeah.
I had success. I want it to keep going. I want your new members to have the same longevity that I've had. And so for me, making folks feel welcome, making folks feel like they belong, no matter their fitness level.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want people to feel like they have to fit in or be athletic to join. I want them to feel like they belong wherever they are in their fitness journey. And especially if they're new to it, because I do remember how vulnerable I felt, how stupid, how, I thought I was mistaken, but I thought, someone as athletic as you running in this program, would sit in judgment of someone like me who had let herself go. All of these things that we say to ourselves, right? What that critical voice in my head said, you've let yourself go. You can't do a push-up. Why would you go in front of this woman you don't know and be vulnerable in that way? And what I learned and why I'm so passionate about is you were the opposite of that. You encouraged me. I mean, the first chapter of your book is I already believe in you, right? And so that mattered to me. And I think that's why that's why I was attracted to you, why I kept coming, why, I felt compelled to be there when you were there, because I wanted to mirror that back.
Yeah.
And so now I want to mirror that for your new folks. I want them to know they belong regardless of where they are. And so making them feel welcome. And if that means, definitely getting their name and, showing them where the equipment is and letting them know that they're doing great, that's really important to me, important to me.
It makes a difference to people. I hear your name all the time. And what would you say the first physical thing that you were able to accomplish? I think I know the answer to this, or first kind of milestone in fitness that you were like, hey, like, I'm proud of myself. I did this.
You know what? That time mile, you and I ran the time mile together. You and I finished it together. Do you remember? Do you remember? You probably don't remember. You probably don't remember this, but I remember this. You finished it with me.
Under 10 minutes, 9:58. I remember screaming.
It was 9:58. You are right. It was 9:58.
I'll never forget it, Debbie.
And you actually ran the last part of it with me. So
okay, you're gonna make me cry.
You did.
I do remember that. I do remember that.
You did. And so those are the things, right? I mean, those are the markers.
Yeah. And just going back a little bit, because I want to use this podcast for good. And one of the things that I want the listener to hear is that we have evolved in a lot of ways, but one of the things that we used to do is assessments where we're counting like how many push-ups you can do, how many sit-ups you can do, lunges, squats, can you run a mile, can you run, can you get to the corner? And we don't do as much of that anymore. And not that I don't love it and believe in it, but our community has evolved and we have other ways of assessing, I think. And I always like to, right now, what I personally do as a trainer, when I have someone in my class that can't do a vertical row or a TRX row or one of the moves that, is maybe a little bit more challenging. And I say to them, you can't do this right now, but I can't wait to celebrate when you can. And they recognize, okay, not being able to do this right now is not a bad thing. It's a good thing because when I'm able to do this, it's going to be a celebration, right? So it's a little bit softer instead of like how many push-ups. And I'll still throw that in every once. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I still throw that in every once in a while. Not the time mile. But okay. So one of the things I want to be sure to talk about today, Debbie, is your weight loss journey because it has been probably the most enlightening educational experience that I've had as a coach and a trainer, coaching you over the years and seeing someone that has really continued to evolve and not give up and go up and down and have it not be a straight line, but end up in incredible shape. Like you're in great shape, Debbie. You've gotten your body fat into the very good category. Your weight is at a healthy weight. I mean, you've done some amazing things. And sometimes you can be hard on yourself and you can say like, I want this and this isn't happening. But then we always have to go back to how far you've come, right? It's not, we're talking 60 some pounds, right? Why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think my weight loss journey has not been linear. It's been hilly. And I certainly have evolved over time. I think what I know to be true is that consistency matters.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, I believe strongly, and you've talked about this a lot lately in your last few podcasts, in having a coach. So I believe in accessing, the smart people that you've put around you. So I did Amy's Clean and Shred program. When it first came out, I was like, that program is for me. I need something new. And that program was life-changing for me. I think I lost 30 pounds on that program. And more importantly, it changed the way I think about food. It took everything out. You just did this podcast with Amy a week ago. It's a good one, where you take everything out, you add things back in. And I was not paying attention to how I felt when I ate dairy, how I felt when I ate, a lot of fiber and beans. And those things were impacting me in ways that I did not understand until I went through that program. And then having benefited from that program, I then went and thought, I really want to understand the macros behind this. And I did cut the fat. I accessed Gretchen's program. And I thought, well, how can I build upon my success of Clean and Shred? What can I do next to continue this journey so that food and nutrition will make more sense to me? Because I've got the exercise part pretty much down pat. I love it. Group fitness. I love being in your classes. That part I love. And so the nutrition piece, and this has evolved over time. It's been 16 years. And so I think it's really important to pace yourself a little bit, one step towards who you want to be every day. And, taking advantage of smart people. You have smart people around you.
Very smart.
And I have access to
smart
that.
people have always been attracted to me. I don't know why.
There you go.
Because I'm not.
And the other thing too is I ask you, I text you all the time. What do you think about this? Hey, if I did that InBody for a full year. I know that you probably want to
we
get
want to
there.
talk about that for
we
sure.
want to get there, but that was another thing. It was like, what, how do I access Kelly? How do I text her, and show her what I'm doing and pick her brain about what I'm getting right and how change equals change. You say that often.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I think you've got to change it up. I have to talk to people who are smarter than me, who understand this stuff, more than I do.
Yeah.
And,
because you were
and that's
a little
what I did.
stubborn in the beginning, right? Like you didn't believe that like the coffee drinks and we all evolve. And that's, we can all kind of, I was actually kind of thinking like, okay, what was the year she kind of stopped the sugary Starbucks? And then what was the year that she stopped the sugar addiction? What was the year?
Peanut butter.
I'm still working on that myself. But it has been like, and that is the progression part is important because those are the people that I see have long-term success. It's not when they just change everything all at once. Because then if you change everything all at once, you usually go back to doing everything you used to do. But it's so unfun to do it your way. Like nobody wants to hear it took you 16 years to get to where you are right now. That's not what anybody wants to hear. But it's important. It's important. And also another point that you and I make all the time is you can't not, like sometimes it feels like you're trying so hard and you're just staying the same, but you can't not try or you'll go back to how you used to be. That's really like important. Anyone that's lost a significant amount of weight struggles with that. All of our clients that have lost, I'd say 50 plus pounds struggle with that. They're addicted to the progress and now they're not seeing the progress. Probably because they're where they're supposed to be.
Right.
but yeah, Debbie, I want you to talk about, you talked a little bit about clean and shred and cut the fat. I do want to talk about the DW because for those that are unaware, the DW is a program that I named after Debbie. So every year we do a winter challenge and people have great success and they typically keep the weight off until usually it's like summer and then summer things start to creep back up. It isn't the way it used to be was more of like a weight loss challenge. And now it's not so much. But what Debbie asked after winter challenge of what year was it? 2019?
2021. It was the first year Amy did clean and shred.
Okay. So you had done clean and shred and you had done the winter challenge.
Right.
And you were really successful. And you're like, Kelly, I want to keep this off. Can I come into the studio every month on the first day of the month or first week of the month, get on the InBody? The InBody is the bioelectrical impedance that measures more than just your weight. It measures your body composition and, tells you a percentage of fat, which is very important. And can I do that every month and just text you? And I said, absolutely. And you did. And I would have forgotten. It wasn't on my radar. It was something that was really important to you. And I would get the texts and I would read them and I would give you my feedback every month. And then after people got wind of it, they saw how great Debbie looked and they saw that she was keeping this weight off that she lost, which is very hard to do. It's much harder to keep the weight off than to lose it. And they said, I want to do this program. I think Christine Cure was the first one, if I can remember correctly, that said, I want to do this program. And then other people raised their hand and said, I want to do it. I said, okay, let's do a program. And it's Debbie's idea. So we're going to name it the DW. And now we have about 60 people participating this year. And it's the fourth year that you've done it. It's fifth?
It's my fifth year. It's the fourth year in the program's existence.
All right. I'm going to let you take over a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that, as you said, I had done Clean and Shred in 2021. It was Amy's, her new program, and I had an amazing amount of success. I felt great. And as always, when I come to you with an idea, you said, yes, Debbie, that sounds great. And I was
Not
able
always.
to.
Not always.
Most of the time. And so I think, that was really the impetus for this program and for the change. And I think, it was really important to me to continue with the success. And I think for me personally, to have a coach, if you would have said, just do it, and don't bother me, it would have been different. I think it was mattered to me that I could pick your accountability matters. And that I could send it to you. And it wasn't even just sending it to you. You told me what you thought. We had conversations about it. I tweaked it when I needed to, began to understand what that in-body actually means. The data on the in-body started to mean something, as I understood it more. And I started to be less concerned about month to month, but the history over time, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just saying, okay, this month was off. Let's take a look at the history, the longevity, and let's not have a panic attack about one bad month. Let's just try to figure this out together. And you and I really, we did that together. And so I think, like you said, Christine Kerr, mentioned it to you, not to me. She said, can I do what Debbie's doing? And then you sent me the note and said, I'd really like to offer this. I feel like there's an interest. And really, the program has grown from there. It's my 5th year doing it. It's the 4th year. And we, have had an average of between 60 and 67 people doing it over the last 4 years. The ripple effect has certainly been there. I think accountability, we've been talking about accountability, this call, that matters, sustainable change, having folks being able to look, over a period of time and see their body, change, their body composition, the things that they can point to for particular change for a particular month. I mean, that's really invaluable. How do you put a price tag on that? And you even said to me, you said, Debbie, this is really just so important. And it is one of the favorite things that you do so that you can talk to people about sustainability.
Well, because it's in line with what I want people to do.
Right.
I want people to play the long game.
Right.
I don't like a 6-week challenge. I like it because it's fun and, everyone's super dialed in during those 6 weeks. But we got to keep going, guys. We can't just stop. And that was always like a pain point for me. Like, we got to keep going. And you don't have to be on the gas as hard, but you have to find what you can keep doing. And I think that that's what the program really allows for. And it doesn't take, like, at first I was like, well, we offer nutrition coaching. I don't want people to just do this program and then not do our nutrition coaching. And, it's a pretty low price point program, to be totally honest. And I didn't want it to take away from some of the other things. It's done just the opposite. Right. People do our coaching programs because they're like, just need I'm off a little bit. I just need to pop into one of the accountability coaching programs and get back on track, or I need to do customized nutrition coaching or whatever it is. It keeps them more connected. The scale is not a good example. I don't love the scale, but when someone comes to me and says, I don't know, I haven't weighed myself in like a year, I'm like, that's a bad sign. That is a very bad sign. You got to pay attention to the numbers, whatever they are. You got to do your blood pressure. You got to check your cholesterol. You got to pay attention to these numbers. You cannot ignore them. If you're ignoring them, they are going in the wrong direction. I can promise you that. They're not just fixing themselves on their own. But yeah, and each year we've also added layers to it. Like everything we do at KBC, it's always every opportunity we have to make it better. Because maybe, I don't know, maybe it was the first year that we did have a lot of drop off. Maybe not a lot, not in anyone else's world. I would it was like 10%, and that's amazing for 90% of the people to finish a year-long program. But 10% was too much for me. So I wanted more people to finish it. So now we have the texting groups, and now I can go in and ding people when they don't do it. Just send them a nice friendly text. A lot of times they just forgot to enter it. Now we have the scanner where they can scan their stuff. So there's just layers to it. I do think it's a very, very valuable program. And I think this is understated, because now that you've, especially for 5 years, when we look at the demographic of a lot of our students, we should be losing muscle. Right? We should be losing muscle just by nature, but we're not. A lot of them are gaining muscle in their 50s and in their 60s. Their skeletal muscle mass is going up because they're paying attention to it. And a little bit ironic that we're talking today, Debbie, because I think today, what's today, April 4th, is probably the best text day in DW history. So I asked the people, and here's the thing, the people that text me are the ones that have good reports, but I tell them now, I say, you don't have to text me it. You can just enter it into the Google Drive. I like to see it, but if you just want to enter it to the Google Drive, I thought that would help some people that when they do bad, they don't want to text me. Just enter your numbers and be done with it. So today I received a text from a teenager who started in January. Her skeletal muscle mass has gone up since she's lost almost 4% body fat since then. And she's listening to me. And I know like her mom was like, she would never listen to me. And they're doing it together. It's wonderful. And it's very healthy. We're not even talking about weight. We're talking about gaining muscle and losing fat. And she's super happy. I had 2 people this week go into the 20s, which most people start in the 40s. Debbie was one of them. To go from 40-something% body fat to 20-something% body fat it's like running a 4-minute mile, you guys. I mean, it is like really, really hard to do. When that much of your body is fat, it is very hard to make these changes. And it takes a long time. And they've been plugging at it and plugging on it. 1% up, 1% down, 1% up, 1% down. And it's frustrating. But they kept going. And 2 people that have been on this podcast, I don't think they'd mind me saying who it was, Corrine and Tina, both got into the 20s
That's amazing.
this week. And my God, it's like amazing. So it just gives us more things to celebrate.
More things to celebrate for sure.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. You have adapted that program and it's evolved over time where, you see less folks dropping off and more folks, having success. And what I love about it too is it's a community now. It's a community.
Mm-hmm. It's a community within the community, for sure.
It is a community within the community where we support one another, where we share about the other programs, your nutrition programs, what we're doing, so that
Food
folks have
sometimes.
yes.
When I make a good meal, I'm like, I got to show the DW. I love it. All right, Dad, let's talk about the advice that you would give to anybody that is seeking health and happiness.
So the advice I would give is what I said at the beginning, being ready is not a prerequisite for success. I was not ready. I was never an athlete, never one to go out and take on an exercise program. And I think taking those first steps, I think are important ones. I think for me personally, I am a group fitness, community connection kind of girl is where my sweet spot. I love being with a group, working out and having folks, you talked about habit stacking in one of your most recent podcasts. And I, a group of my friends count on me to be there and we, go get coffee afterwards. Those are the things that have been really powerful for me.
For your happiness, coffee with your girls.
Coffee with my girls.
Yeah.
So I feel taking those first steps, even though you may not feel ready, you may feel vulnerable, you may feel nervous. I think reaching out and taking those steps, showing up, those things matter. Showing up matters. Just showing up matters. Taking those, I think, everything that you do is a vote for who you want to be. And so I think that's important and good advice. I think try to do that, take those steps towards fitness, towards wellness. And accessing people who you admire, who are doing what you want to do and where you want to be, access those folks. Yeah. So I listened to your podcast. I've accessed your team.
I'm the same way, Debbie. I need to get things in my ear too. We're all like that.
Yeah, I think that's helped me tremendously. And, taking what resonates with me and trying it. Yeah. And I think, again, the evolution has been over 16 years, but I think, accessing all that you had to offer has changed my life.
Yeah. For sure. Well, I'm going to go back to not liking exercise, but you are a musician. So we play music. You like music. You like people. You like social. So you always have to find the one thing about it that you like. That's really important. And we talked about coffee, so I just want to bring this up. Cindy Como had a brain tumor. She did not tell me. I did that same assessment that I did with Debbie, one-on-one with an hour. But for an hour with Cindy, we talked about everything. And never once did she say, oh, by the way, I have a brain tumor and it's terminal. And I go to Charlottesville she go every month or every quarter, whatever. She never told me any of this, which I'm glad, because I never thought of her as Cindy with a brain tumor. I thought of her as Cindy that was super athletic and wanted to lose 1 pound, because she always signed up for the winter challenge and say she wanted to lose 1 pound.
lean.
And I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. She'd always be last minute. So Cindy came to Saturday boot camp. That was a ritual for her. And she became very good friends with a lot of the boot campers, and they had a little group, and they would go to coffee after. And when the brain tumor became, I don't know the right words for it, but when she was unable to work out with us, which she worked out with us for a very long time, she would walk to boot camp and just do coffee and walk back. When it got to the point where she was not able to walk to coffee, the coffee girls would go to her house and be there for her after Saturday boot camp. That just always stuck with me. Like, wow, like, okay, you know, we take so much for granted, but it was just figuring out what she could do. And the people, I mean, even at Cindy's funeral, that's when I felt like, okay, you know, I know it's never just a workout, and I know this community is special, and I know, but you know, the priest was giving KBC shout outs, and and it was like, I looked around the room, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are all KBC people. Like, no, she had a lot of other friends and family, obviously. But one of the most special things that happened on that day of her funeral was Debbie's family was in town. And meanwhile, Cindy was very young. She had young children. Her daughter was graduating from high school that year. Her son, Ben, was still in high school. And Debbie asked me to host her family at the Saturday workout. And I was kind of like, I don't know that I can do that, Debbie. And the Friday before, she must have passed in the summer, August.
She passed in July 28th.
So I was at a fitness conference in the beginning of August, the day before, and it was called Fun-tensity. And the whole workout was fun. It was like this guy, Jonathan Ross, who I love. And it was like big beach balls and like just rubber chickens and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to take this workout that I'm doing right now to Cindy's family tomorrow. And we did. And everyone was laughing. And I just felt Cindy with us. And I was like, she had the best laugh and sense of humor. So I was just like, it was so special. So Debbie, you've done a lot, you know, you're being very kind to KBC. But you have done so much for this program. One, by being a squeaky wheel, right? By saying, hey, this is what I need, right? That's one of the things I wrote about in my book. And it was really a tribute to you. Ask for what you need. If you need it, somebody else needs it too, right? And being honest and open and vulnerable and caring, those are all things that when you have a student that behaves that way and you come into a community, you either like it because that person treated you that way, or you're like, this isn't for me. I'm perfectly fine attracting kind, generous people into our program. Those are the people that are staying because that's what they like. So it really is, that's part of the culture. That's part of the culture. And a lot of the culture came from our original students, and that you're one of those people. So anyone that's trying to build a community, which I know a lot of people are right now, because that's what the world needs more of, is healthy, strong, vibrant communities. That's what you need a DW. You need somebody that's going to create a culture of caring and that's going to show up the way you want your other students to show up. And I might not have been warm and fuzzy like Debbie had hoped for, but one thing that she said in the beginning that means a lot to me, because this is part of my identity, is no matter what, I showed up. No matter what. Like, I might not have it all figured out. I might not be the most organized, but I'm going to show up and I'm going to give you everything I have in that moment without hesitation. And she appreciated that. So there's just a lot of value in a community that wants everybody in it to succeed. And that's what, you know, I would say for a period of time, maybe we were a little competitive, like, oh, so-and-so did a such and such minute mile, I got to do that, or I want to be, but that's not a bad thing. It's not like, it's like pushing you to be better. I love when someone pushes me to be better. I love that. I try to find people. You know, when I first started my boot camp, I was the most fit person. I would probably rank myself 100th now. And that is okay.
I don't know about
That's okay. But think about that. That's evolution. That's great. That's great. That's really good. Because
It is good.
before I'd be intimidated if someone was more fit than me, then I can't coach them, right?
Mm.
Now I'm like, now I want to be more like them. So I love that. I love that. Okay, Debbie, you have the floor. What do you want to say to our podcast community? What do you want them to know? Could be about you. It could be about your favorite snack. It could be about your favorite person. It could be about anything you want. This is a new question. But you
Yeah,
already
I think
answered the start before you're ready, so I had to wing this.
yeah, I think that what I said earlier, being ready is not a prerequisite for success. And I have found success time and time again in your programs and what you have offered. And I think the evolution of the DW program is part of a smaller community that you've also mirror that with the larger community. You are forever evolving and changing to meet the needs of your growing diverse
Yeah.
community that I love so much.
Yeah.
And it has been my pleasure to be a part of it. And part of the reason I keep coming back is because what you just said a moment ago, there is a culture of kindness. There's a culture of caring. There's a culture of love. There's a culture of, hey, show up, connection over perfection is, how I feel about the space. And I will continue to show up for you and for the people that you serve. And I got no plans on going anywhere.
That's
It
right,
feels like
sister. You
home
and
to
me, we're
me.
going down
It feels like
together.
home. It feels like home to me. So,
So
yeah.
what would you tell that 220-pound, high cholesterol, winded up the stairs, not feeling good in their own skin? What would you tell her?
I love you.
Yeah.
I was you.
Yeah.
And I am not ashamed of who I was. At the time, I was taking care of my family
Yeah.
and my children, and
Yeah.
I was trying. I was
Yeah.
doing the best that I could. I was working full time and doing all of those things. And I love her. And I also love the evolution of
Yeah.
her.
I
And
love
I
that.
also appreciate having this community here. And what I would tell her is to keep looking, and asking and finding people who you like and admire
Yeah.
and wish to be around, who fill you up, and go be with them,
Yeah.
because that's where you will find
Yeah.
home, the same way I found home here.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that. I think people need people, and it's never just a workout. Everything is figure outable. Debbie, we didn't talk about this, but Debbie has 2 new hips, and you'd never know it. She was told, I was just having a conversation. Was walking with someone yesterday that got a new hip. And I was like, yeah, when my friend Debbie got her hip, they said, you'll never run again. You'll never do this. And I'm like, just curious, what did they tell you when you got your hip? She's like, you said no kickboxing. I was like, fair enough. Debbie probably still does kickboxing, but they didn't know who they were when they gave you that advice, Debbie. They didn't know that you were going to lose. How many pounds, Debbie? What are you down now?
50. I mean, 50.
50, yeah. And
Yeah.
percent body fat. What percent?
12%.
12% body fat. Yeah. Those new hips are much happier with that. That's easier. And people you don't have to be overweight to need new hips, by the way. A lot of people need new hips. But it is amazing what she can do physically. And I think one of her biggest evolutions, Debbie, I'll say about you is, and maybe it's because you didn't do sports when you were younger, but I wouldn't have called you coachable in the beginning, because I think you didn't you were just so nervous that it was like you just wanted to kind of not get the attention on you. You didn't like it. I've called you out. And now I feel like you're the exact opposite. You're like, how can I do this better? Everything you do, you want to do to the best of your ability, because you've evolved and you have the confidence now where you're like, how can I do this better? Not only with your nutrition, but I would say that with your fitness too. And you know what we're going to end this podcast with, DW? With one saying. What's it going to be?
I already believe in you. Wouldn't it
I
have to
already
be
believe
that?
in you is a great saying. I believe in me is my new favorite saying. Hug your knees into your chest. Woo! All right, wait, let me say it. So just to give some background, after every class, apparently I'm have some things that I do consistently, and we'd lie on our mats. We'd be outside. Back then we were only outside. The sun would be on our face. And I would say, hug your knees into your chest. And what would you say, Debbie?
Oh, I would say, woohoo.
And it was like everyone would laugh. That went on for at least 10 years, you guys.
At least 10 years. At least 10 years.
So every time I say it now, I'm wondering who's gonna give me some love. A lot of love on this podcast. A lot of growth. Debbie's very growth-minded, not only in her fitness and nutrition, but in her mindset. She does a lot of reading. She listens to a lot of podcasts. Mm-hmm. She recently has become a professional instructor for meditation. We didn't even talk about what you do, but for meditation, right? I know you said you passed or you.
I do teach. I have not been certified, but
Okay.
I do teach mindfulness classes for Fairfax County government. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mindfulness for about 7 years.
Yeah.
I teach professional development.
And she teaches it to educators. And that's really important because that hopefully gets trickled down into our children. Absolutely beautiful. Debbie, thank you so much for being on today. This was so much fun talking to you. I hope other people enjoy our conversation as much as we did.
I know, we really did.
I
love you. Thank you.
Bye.
I love you too. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Start Before You're Ready. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might need a little motivation. Ready to start your own journey? Check out our workouts and nutrition coaching programs at kellysbootcamp.net. You can choose from in-person sessions or virtual programs. Set up a complimentary coaching session to get started. Follow along with me and the show on social media at Kellys_bootcamp. Until next time, this is Kelly Young reminding you that the best time to start is always now.